because my understanding is that their investigation is premised on a security threat assessment that is rooted in the facts of the 9 November visits. That was my interpretation of the presentation. And if that's the correct understanding that I have there, and then why is it that Mr. Matlangu and Mr. Binang are charged in that investigation when the occupants of the vehicle were not them? So just to draw the dots from the team investigation, the premise of it, the individuals, and who the actual suspects are. If I've missed something, please do clarify me. And I should also point out from slide 17, I'm hoping it's a typo, but November only has 30 months, 30 days, so there couldn't have been a 31st November when this meeting happened. To the acting commissioner, just to explain, please, what was the purpose or motive or rationale for the Section 205 application to access the dockets, given that you were the subject of the investigation? That would seem to be a clear conflict of interest. And as the chair has suggested, the wise course of action would be to recuse rather than to step into that space. So that's the reason for the Section 205 application. And also to the acting commissioner, on the matter of the letter that was sent to you from IPID in February, this is date stamped in May, but anyway, last year. You said that the letter does not detail specific allegations against you. But the fact is, or the question is rather, why then would IPID ask to meet with you if you weren't the subjects of the investigation of the allegations? I mean, what would be the alternative explanation for them wanting to take up your valuable time if the investigation had nothing to do with you? And on that same line, I will then ask IPID if can they provide evidence of any follow-up attempts that they made to have a meeting with the acting commissioner, because she said that she's never been approached directly on this matter. And then, Chair, it's a trite question, but it is going to bug me for the remainder of the day if I don't ask it. I heard the acting commissioner say that there is no more IPID, there is now OPID. What does the O stand for? I just want to know. O'Sullivan. Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm covered there. And then finally, Chair, I think I did ask this question at the last meeting when the ED made the allegations, but has IPID opened Section 33 charges against the members of the SAPS that they allege are interfering in their investigations? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Bailey. Honourable Reelinghuis, you're the last, then we'll go to the responses.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think this is an absolutely unprecedented and absurd situation that we're finding ourselves in. To have two constitutional or organs of state, both tasked with incredibly important constitutional mandates, literally at one another's throat in a public forum like this. It is an absurd situation. It is shocking that we've got to this point. I don't know how to address it, and I may make some recommendations or put forward some thoughts as I go along. I have two questions that I want to raise first before I get there. I'm not going to comment or go into incredible detail about Paul O'Sullivan. I've made myself clear about, or my views clear on him in this committee before. I don't have a very high regard for the man. His reputation precedes him. But I want to know specifically, and I want to read here, it says that during the arrest of Paul O'Sullivan, a Nokia handset that was found to be in his possession was seized and later taken to the technical support unit. Information was downloaded from the handset and a report was generated by a forensic expert, and the result was the SMSs that we had read here. Under what authority was that handset seized? Was there a warrant for it? Was there appropriate authorization to get the information? Because as far as I know, if I'm arrested and you take my cell phone, you must just put it somewhere in a box and keep it. You need additional authorization to extract information from that handset. I want to know whether that has happened, because if it hasn't happened, is that evidence admissible in court? Or have we now been today subjected to, I can't even describe what was in those SMS and for what purpose, to come and portray this Machiavellian situation in the IPID and further undermine or create the counter allegations of its independence or not, as I said. My second question, has any person in the lawful employ, I'm not talking about Paul O'Sullivan, has any person in the lawful employ of IPID involved in this investigation been investigated by the SAPS and or charged or arrested by the SAPS on whichever cases or whatever, because those are some of the allegations that are made about interference. Now, on the interference issue itself, as I said, we got a list here, extensive bullets of what has allegedly taken place, people being instructed not to cooperate, people being moved out of positions, etc. What we did not hear, as I said before, that the SAPS are not interfering. I did not hear today from the Acting National Police Commission or any one of the delegations that the SAPS are not interfering. But what I did hear is that a long list of reasons why they probably think it is acceptable or justifiable to do so, and why they believe they are entitled to do so, because according to SAPS, IPID does not exist, they're not recognized, and therefore they don't have to deal with them. And it's laughable for me, Acting National Police Commissioner, for you to say you're willing to cooperate, but in the same breath, say to us that you don't recognize them, they don't exist. I do not think those are words of someone who said that they won't cooperate with an investigation. And I would like to remind you of your obligations under Section 2, specifically about the supremacy of the Constitution, and the duty that imposes on you to fulfill your obligations. And secondly, on the diligent performance of those duties in Section 237. I am astonished to hear from an Acting National Police Commissioner, who all SAPS members report to eventually, and who all IPID cases can involve in some way, to the things that I've heard today. And it is largely because this case has, unfortunately, from the beginning, been personalized. The best thing would have been for the Acting National Police Commissioner to recuse himself. And I agree with the comments and the questions about that. I actually don't think that it is proper, in terms of due process and the rule of law, for you to be anywhere near the SAPS at this time, or involved in any area of it that can influence the outcome of this case. That is just basic public administrative principles and common sense. But as I said, this case has been personalized from the beginning, because we had IPID tell us there's an investigation, and then the Acting National Police Commission comes with a delegation telling us the counter allegations or explaining it. And yes, Chairperson, this has been in the media, but I also think we have to take some responsibility for that. Because every time there is a discussion about this, we have a hearing like this. And it fuels the public debate, and I do think it's important for there to be transparency around it. I do not believe that there should be leaks. And Executive Director, those Section 2 and Section 237 obligations equally apply to you under the Constitution. So what I would like for us, Chairperson, is for the SAPS to give us a response, a written response, to every single one of these allegations of interference listed here. Not counter-allegations about independence or not, but did they instruct these people not to meet with them? Did they do this? Did they do not? I would like to see that, please. And finally, I note the Acting National Police Commissioner's indication that he's willing to cooperate, but I don't understand that the letter that we were given is dated, addressed to his office March, but the response is May. I don't understand why there's a 2-month gap if there was such a fervent desire to deal with this investigation and to fully cooperate. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Honourable Mula, I saw your hand, but I'm not going to take any more hands.
I forgot to ask you, remember last time when we were having a portfolio committee with the IPID, I asked the ED this question. But now it's proper to ask it because Mr. Mahlangu is here. Is it true that when you went to General Patlane's house, you were driving Polo Sullivan's car? Can you tell us the truth? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, no. Hold your horses. Members, we've done with the questions. I think there's also a firm proposal from Honourable Redlinghuis that if there's any additional information or responses, the committee, of course, will receive that in writing. If there's any additional representations, we will, of course, look at that. So I'm going to ask now the Executive Director to deal with the issues. If there's other additional information, they can provide it in writing, and same for the Acting National Commissioner. Let's go to the ED. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. I think firstly, to start with Honourable Redlinghuis's question about why there was a 2-month delay. In the first instance, I think it's appropriate to mention that the people involved in the investigation initially, in February, March 2016, have all left and gone to SAPS. One is sitting there at the back. They've all gone. And as Mr. Sissoko said earlier, there was no real investigation that took place. In fact, there is, because of lack of resources, we can't continue. There's clearly attempts by the investigators then of IPID to derail the investigation. But that's for another day. We'll deal with that later. Much has been made by Dawood's intercepted SMSs and so on, and meetings with former Hawks members and so on. I must just say for the record, and something I haven't told anyone before until now, I met with General Patlane while this investigation was going on. And the investigation was put together by a former Hawks person, Sibia, in which General Patlane attempted to ask me about the investigation against him, and I refused. He might want to comment about that. So just to give you an idea, you can't cast aspersions, you open the door about former Hawks members, and then you ask them to set up meetings with me. So, General Patlane received a bravery award for a so-called attack on him, which took place in 2016. Different people who saw it on YouTube will come to different conclusions. But the issue here, there was no Mabula team
Chairperson, no, point of
appointed
order.
after that.
No. We can't continue
Honourable-
on this way.
Yes,
It's totally irrelevant,
No, it's
the remark.
relevant.
With great respect. It is this type of attitude that we are in the situation we are. To make a remark to say everyone who saw it on YouTube have different opinions, it's irrelevant. It's mudslinging here. And really, this is Parliament. The people are looking up at Parliament to solve the issue. And may I ask, Chairperson, that the persons restrain from personal remarks, as you said. Thank you.
Yeah, let's use that approach. Honourable Mhlongo, are you going to help me in very few seconds? Yes.
No, I'll help you, Chairperson. You know, Chairperson, as I said earlier on, you know, I find it strange that even ourselves as a committee, we appear to be taking sides when mudslinging is actually then raging from this side, and you don't expect the other side to, because that is wrong. That is why then I spoke about admissibility and non-admissibility of the evidence that is before us. If I were to apply the laws of evidence footprint correctly to the fullest, I was somehow going to come to what Honorable Gelden Hayes came to, as to how this was actually then obtained, as to how this was actually obtained, because then we operate within the legal framework, all of us. But what I can say, Chairperson, we definitely need to avoid is to allow this thing to actually escalate to personalities. I would appeal even to us as members of the committee to say the recommendations from Honorable Ramatlakane, to me, has got some credence, so that we can actually then avoid also, because we don't want also to have lame duck state organs that are useless. As the court says here, if you read, I can't waste your time, Chairperson, on the findings on IPID independence. They say IPID, according to the Constitution, is actually, its independence is fully guaranteed. However, there must be a step further taken, because they are in their line of duty overlaps with that one of the Hawks. Then the rules of engagement must be ironed out in order to avoid clashing. Now, when they go and deal with the underworld as IPID, that's why then the clashes will happen. As right now before us, the executive director is also presenting to us that his members are being pushed by SAPS. Why? particularly those that are involved in the investigation, doesn't that also highlight to us that there might be a kind of a syndicate that is there? It is in that particular context and spirit I was saying. I am actually getting a bit shocked as to why are the other generals not here from the headquarters, because when their head is actually touched, or is it because they also have an interest that if and only if we can collapse the acting commissioner, I might be appointed in the position? Is there such an existence of a thing, of a conflict at a central command of policing? Because it will defeat the entire objective of fighting crime at the end of the day.
Honorable Shlongo, can you help me? Let's come to the core business, and I want to also ask IPID and SAPS to assist. We're dealing with the core issue today, is the interference, yes or no. I know there's a lot of other issues, and I mean, both institutions are welcome in detail writing to respond, but let's just deal with the core issues. Yes, Executive Director, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The point I was raising is very valid and pertinent before you found offense in it, Honorable Groenewald. The issue is this.
Honorable Groenewald,
Chairperson, no. Mr. McBride must understand one thing. I said he must stop his personal remarks. And whether he think, if I think it's relevant or not, is irrelevant as far as he's concerned. He has to answer to this House.
Right, let's go to the core business. Let's respond. Thank you.
I'm attempting to answer, Honorable Chairperson, if I'm given just a chance. During that incident, which I referred to, there was no Mabula team appointed. The Mabula team, so there was no real concern about the threat. The concern of threat only came in when IPID really started investigating at that stage. So that's the point I am making. Now, executive authority, Honorable Chairperson, yes, we've written letters. We've written 2 letters to Minister Ntlego. We've written 1 to Minister Mbalula, and we've written 1 to the President and to the appointing authority. It must be remembered, however, Acting Commissioner Patlani is not the National Commissioner, he's acting. Sometimes he leaves the country, goes out, someone else is acting. So it's not like he has to be there. He can step aside. So he's not the National Commissioner. So it's not the same process of removing. For much less, previous National Commissioners have been suspended. For much less, for less allegations, they've been suspended and dealt with and gotten rid of quickly. Here we see an ongoing matter, going on and on and on and on. And the issue about the media, well, I can't stop the media from saying what they want to. General Patlani went to the media. So, in any event, the way I understand it, the media is free in this country.
Chairperson, point of clarity on this issue?
Honorable Groenewald.
You see, that's my problem. I know the media can report whatever they want. My question was specifically, for instance, when they arrived at the house after this, why? It's quite clear, the media must have been informed if there is a lack of understanding of what I'm asking.
Thank you for the clarification. Let's go to the ED. Thank you.
Thanks. So, just in terms of the so-called threat or a breach in security was not reported to the police protection services at all. No. It was reported to Mabula's team. Very different to what the standard procedure is when there is a breach of security. There is a whole process which is involved, an SOP that kicks in. So this threat has been used to delegitimize the IPID investigation. Allow the investigation to continue, to run to completion. Why must it be nipped in the bud? One of the issues for which I've been charged for now is because I asked Nube, who gave you instructions to come from Northwest to Gauteng? You're based in Northwest. What are you doing here questioning my investigators in IPID building about their investigation? He refused to answer. That to me is an indication of a sinister motive. Why would a senior brigadier in the police service, especially appointed by the acting commissioner, not want to say who gave him instructions to come to another province where he is not deployed? Why would that be necessary? In line with what the honorable members were asking. I just try to answer the honorable members' questions. Honorable Molebatsi, I dealt with that question now. Oh yeah, who is Paul O'Sullivan? Paul O'Sullivan is a South African citizen with dual or maybe more citizenships. Paul O'Sullivan has provided information on a number of occasions to IPID. We agree with some things he does, we don't agree with others. We don't agree with his attitude, we do things differently, but he did provide information to us. And yes, he did help with some of the statements. Of the 67 statements on the Patlani investigation, 3 came to IPID with a complaint during the period when we were suspended, and 3 he assisted in drafting, out of 67, so a total of 6. So Paul O'Sullivan's assistance to the investigation has been minuscule. But in the time that he did assist, because let's remember where it comes from, Pop Crew went to Paul O'Sullivan. Pop Crew members who are still being victimized today by Patlani. Some have even been dismissed, some have been transferred, some have won their cases in the labor court after they laid these complaints about the defective forensic equipment and materials. Now, I just want to go, there's a question that Honorable Mbele asked. Why do we refer to them as a torture team, as murderers? Well, let me give you an example, and maybe General Mabula can answer this also and respond to it. During the early hours of the morning in June 2006, between the 2nd and the 4th, a body was dropped off at George Mkari Hospital of Simon Ngwane. That body was alive 24 hours earlier, was picked up from his home without any injuries on him, was then dropped off, and the doctor on duty refused to take him because rigor mortis had already set in. That meant he had been dead for between 2 and 3 hours already. That man was in the custody of General Mabula. I think he was a colonel then. Since then, he's got promotion. According to the post-mortem report, the injuries suffered by him, including injuries to his mouth, hands tied, and the fact that he died from asphyxiation, is consistent with torture. Then there are a number of other cases during the same period running up to 2010, where Officer Binang was the investigator and arrested, including Dawood there. There was a decision to prosecute by the NPA. The only reason why it was removed from the role was for centralization. So, Honorable Mbele, I hope you understand why we use those terms. So, it's the same unit, by the way, who was used to arrest Gerinel, to arrest General Boyson, all out of their province. It's the same unit. So, it's the same unit that is conducting surveillance on us. Now, we don't mind that. We've got nothing to hide. We're not above the law, Honorable Groenewald. In fact, when we were charged, myself, Sissoko, and Kuba, we said, bring it on. And it's the same prosecutors who are dealing with them who were those trying to prosecute us. They had no evidence, not a shred of evidence, yet they had issued warrant of arrests for us because we did not want to bend to Minister Ntlego's idea about the rendition issue. And there is no cloud hanging over my head about that. I gave them a full opportunity to deal with it. They didn't deal with it. And just for the record, Honorable Mabicha, Ramat was removed unfairly, unprocedurally, with a lot of pressure on him. the whole issue relating to,
Honorable Mamula.
Point of order, Chair. When
Yes, what's your point of order?
Mabija was speaking about Dramat, you said he must not speak, but ED is answering Mabija now. Why is he answering him? Because you said Mabija is out of order.
thanks. Before we ask Teresa Botha to do the analysis of the interference, where we pick out the analysis and give specific occasions of the interference, I'll ask Mr. Sissoko and others just to comment. And there's a question that's been directed towards Mandla Matlango. I think he can deal with that effectively. Mr. Sissoko.
Thank you, Edie. Mr. Sissoko.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable members. I think after all said and done, and which is the purpose of why we're here today, it's whether there is an interference with IPID investigation or not. This honorable house made laws, the IPID Act, and said IPID must have an oversight and investigate members of the South African Police Service. When IPID then start investigating members of the South African Police Services, the members then in turn investigate IPID. With due respect, honorable members, it can never be. We are not saying IPID is above the law and IPID investigators are above the law. But you cannot have a situation where when IPID investigators engage in an investigation and investigate members of the police form teams of members who are still under investigation by IPID to do the investigation. Any reasonable person can see that there can never be any objectivity in that investigation because the intention is clear to thwart what IPID is trying to achieve. We therefore lose, and hence I say in the presentation, it offends what this parliament is trying to do by creating IPID. Because therefore it means IPID can never be able to investigate any member of the police as long as police officers are allowed to investigate IPID members or even interfere with the investigation by approaching their witnesses or not. Here's the issue. When there is an issue about the security of the acting national commissioner, why does the acting national commissioner does not go to a competent authority, which is the protection service, to say, there's an issue about my protection? Then they do the necessary investigation from that side. But further still, why is there a need, rather than dealing with security, getting into witnesses that have already been deposed, have deposed statements in IPID investigation, and ask them to do other statements which will then counter what the investigation of IPID is trying to achieve? In any event, honorable members, if the issue here is about the unlawfulness of our investigation, when the investigation is completed, the matter goes to the prosecutors. The prosecutors will decide whether to prosecute or not. If the prosecutors are of the view that IPID conducted an illegal investigation, they will make that judgment. It's not for the acting national commissioner to make that judgment. If the prosecutors are of the view that in this investigation, IPID did something wrong, they will make that call. It's not for a person who is a suspect in our investigation to do that. And that is what is at the core of what we're raising here. And we have written to the former minister about this issue to say we are concerned that there is an interference with our investigation. Please inform the president that we have these issues. Please let them consider putting the acting national commissioner on special leave or on suspension so that we conclude our investigation. We are not saying he's guilty of any offense. We are saying, Let the investigation continue without being impeded, so that at the end of the day, the competent authorities like the prosecuting authority can make their decisions without an interference in our investigation. That is the core of what we're saying. Hence, we raise an issue that also at the amendment stage, these are the issues that we look at. Otherwise, the work of IPID will never, it's just not gonna happen. We will continue to get this interference, and the reason why we have an IPID Act is going to be defeated. Because we came from the ICD Act, and the reason why we went to IPID Act was because the ICD Act was not effective in making our work effective. Now there's a new, and it's unprecedented. It has never happened before, and that is why we're here today, that there is this kind of interference in IPID investigation. How do you then expect someone who is already under investigation by IPID to conduct an objective investigation against IPID members? It can never be, and that is at the core of the issue.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Mashlangu.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable members, it is true, yes, it is true that I went to Paul O'Sullivan at Sable Hills. The reason why I had to use Paul's car, it was because the buggy that I was using was a two-seater, and I was with my colleague. A complainant came, a complainant by the name of Paul O'Sullivan. We met somewhere next to Sable Hill. His vehicle is not a two-seater like the one that I was using. And a complainant said to me, I have evidence to show you. It is my duty, honorable members, to listen to my complainant, all of them. Whether he's a foreigner or he's not a foreigner, he is my complainant.
Follow up on that response, Honorable Mamula.
Thank you, Mr. Mahlang. Are you telling us that you were using Paul O'Sullivan's car? Where are the other cars for IPID? You only got vans in IPID that is having two-seater. Why didn't you go back to the office and collect the car? What are you telling us? Because Paul O'Sullivan is a private investigator. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we've got the point taken. Colleagues, we've got just one problem. The mini plenaries is going to, we must vacate here at 1:30. So there's a lot of sea of hands. Let's give Mr. Mashlangu an opportunity to complete that and the further response from IPID, and then we'll go to SAPS. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable member. We were already there at Sable Hill. So I wouldn't leave Sable Hill and go back to my office and fetch another vehicle. I mean, it's about 40 minutes drive. I had to, and honorable members, as far as I know, there's no crime or any disciplinary, I didn't break any law by being in the complainant's car. There is no crime against that. And honorable members,
I think if we need further, elaboration, we can have it in writing. Is there anything else from IPID before I go to SAPS?
We must ask questions. Because when he answers me, he said there's no case if he's using. Why they didn't follow each other with cars and go to the Chairperson?
No, the ruling is that, well, that's the ruling I make is there. If there's further questions, we'll give it to IPID. Is there anything else? Okay, that's IPID's presentation. Yes.
Honourable Chair, I've been requested to just compile a short sequence of events that summarises everything. It's a 5-minute exercise.
If we maybe, I think let's say that must be made available in writing to members, and then we will look at it at our next meeting. Right. Let's go to SAPS.
Chairperson, sorry, I know we have time constraints. You're going to SAPS. I've asked a specific pertinent question on the media. Who informed them of all these operations where they come with cameras to take it? I didn't receive an answer on that.
Executive Director.
Yeah, well, Honorable Groenewald, I have no idea. I think, from my understanding, is the decision to go to Sable Hills. General Patlani was informed in his office, and there was a lot of people around there. So, to answer your question, I haven't the faintest idea who informed the media.
Right, thank you. Let's go to General Patlani and SAPS for their responses. Thank you.
Thanks, Honorable Chair, honorable members. Just to assist Honorable Groenewald on the question, particularly on the day of the raid at my house, the media was convened in the IPID offices that morning. It is for that reason that the investigators were very impatient seeing me while I was at the NPA for another engagement, just for record purposes. There are some...
Sorry, it's very important.
Groenewald.
So do I understand that Mr. McBride has just lied to this committee?
Yeah, let's refrain from making inferences. Let's allow the relevant delegations to continue with their presentations, and then we can deal with it. Thanks.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. There are some, well, let me do what is honorable and just answer the questions. I know Honorable Riedlinghuys, as well as IPID, have asked a question about placement on special leave or suspension. For record purposes, Chair, I did not appoint myself as an acting national commissioner. I was appointed by the President. It is 3 years that I did not have leave because of the focus on the work that we are doing. I am not glued to the chair of an acting national commissioner. That's not the only reason why I'm employed in this organization. And I believe that I possess what cannot be taken away from me. So if it were to be in the interest of the country, and there was good reason why I should be at home, I would have taken the liberty to do so. But I have, of course, realized that this is an investigation directed at my person. When you look at the string of allegations that were made by Pop Crew, by O'Sullivan, which is actually a cover-up to bring in Pop Crew in the equation, this investigation is in the main sanctioned by Paul O'Sullivan. The issues raised by Pop Crew, we came here before the Honorable House and presented the outcomes of investigations that were sanctioned by the suspended National Commissioner. We're very clear on what the outcomes thereof is. On the same matter, honorable members will recall that I had said that I'm taking civil litigation against those that peddled those issues. That matter was before the court. As we sit, we are waiting for an outcome of the civil court. The judge will pronounce soon. Interesting was that they could not tender any evidence to support their baseless allegations, which were found to be baseless already by CPN. I know they selectively like the report. I saw in the response to the answering affidavit, IPID was making reference to what they think is juicy out of that report. Read the whole report in context and look at what were the allegations, what were the recommendations. I am not going to dignify some of the issues raised, Chair, with a response relating to people dismissed or people who left the organization until I am given a list of who are those people. If someone resigns, I'm not going to lock the door and say you will stay here because our code provides for such. I now realize how little IPID knows about the police, because if there is a threat assessment, Protection and Security Services only provides protection. Crime intelligence conduct the threat assessment, the outcome of which is provided to Protection and Security Services and say, this threat is confirmed. Now, I don't know this SOP that they're referring to. Maybe it's one of those that comes from OPID. I'm not aware of it. Chair, the investigation, I am not leading any investigation. I am not. General Mabula was very clear in a presentation to say he was summoned by the Acting Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence following the threat assessment which is being conducted. And the Acting Divisional Commissioner, who's sitting here behind me, wrote to the Provincial Commissioner asking for people to be appointed to deal with this particular threat, which they have also picked up during that assessment. Now, we are being told here that the threat assessment or the investigation, the so-called Mabula, who I will request, Chair, that he always be given the respect he deserves. He's a general, not just a Mabula. It's not a suspect someone. It's General Mabula. He was not, the task team was not put in place after they have started the investigation. The task team, I was attacked the 5th of June last year. In July already, the work started. At some point, they were appointed. So to come to Parliament and suggest that this was informed by the investigation, it's far-fetched, Chair. And Honorable Chair, it is important that we remember that the South African Police Service is a national competency. I can, if I need capacity, draw resources from anywhere else in the country. When, for example, I'm dealing with Vuani, I'm not only saying the Limpopo people must police that situation. I'll draw people from the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal and so on, because I need capacity there and it is available. And surely, Chair, I don't need IPID's mandate to deploy. It's the prerogative of the National Commissioner. Just as IPID has drawn people from KwaZulu-Natal, the Northwest and Gauteng to come and deal with Pahlani, the Acting Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence, in the execution of a mandate, when she realized that there is a need for investigation, she deemed it fit to secure the services of people who are not in Pretoria, because one of the reasons that was going to be advanced is that here they are bringing bodies together, and maybe Honorable Mhlongo, it will also explain why you don't find any of the Deputy National Commissioners here. They are busy. General Ngonya is in, what is it, KwaZulu-Natal. General Cruiser is in the Free State. Our work continues. We continue to serve our country. So it is not necessary, because then I would have made the appointment if I were to say to one of the Deputy National Commissioners, do this investigation. And I took myself out of that and reported what happened. And a lot has been said about the contact. On the 14th of November last year, I was in Mpumalanga. We were launching the Safer Festive Season program campaign. At around 3, when I was called by the builder and said, General, I'm surprised there are people here coming to me. I listened to what he said. The following day, he came back to me and said, General, Paul O'Sullivan was here wanting access to my place, to his place, the builder, and I have chased him away. It is at that point that I made contact with the estate manager for one reason. Why did you allow access to people to my house, which is a security estate, without me knowing? It's standard practice. If they talk about SOP, they must go and look at what are the standard procedures in an estate. That I must be called to say, there are these people coming to your property, do you let them in or not? There is no reason why I was supposed to say no. Now it turns out to say, no, he influenced witnesses. 2 people that I've spoken to. The builder, the security, the estate manager. I have never spoken to the security manager as they continue to peddle it out there. So there could not have been interference. Honorable Mbele, I know he's saying issues are not responded to. I've responded to the issue relating to the letter. And the version which was put before the Honorable House to say that he did not know it's untrue. And I have spoken to that particular letter. The reason why the letter was in March, and you saw my response in May to my PA to say schedule accordingly, it's because I was waiting for them to be coming. Because they surely do not need to make contact with me and say, do you have a date? I've got an office, I've got a PA, I've got a staff officer, the people that they're supposed to be talking to. But indeed, I have said to her, schedule. And one of the reasons why I said schedule, I was sick and tired of the string of emails. General Mabula mentioned here 49 emails that were directed at me. To want to get that opportunity to say, guys, I hear you, there is this thing. Because in one of those emails is exactly the long hearsay statement which IPID is relying on in terms of what happened, because he had transported Colonel Munsami from the Eastern Cape to Johannesburg, accommodated him and transported him back, during which he was able to listen to him, and that constituted the basis of the statement that he had. So there was no reason why I should not have seen them. But I'm placing it on record once again. To date, I'm yet to be approached by those same investigators to come and talk to me. And I said to you, here is one of them behind me. Northwest Unit, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, in the police we don't have the Northwest Unit. We have got members of the South African Police Service. We do not run a federal state or a federal police, and therefore General Mabula is a member of a national competency, which is the South African Police Service. And I guess I've alluded to who did the appointment, which is the Acting Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence, to be able to pursue this investigation. Interference, Honorable Mlebatsi, it's what I hear. Even today here, we are being told there is interference. And I ask the same question. Just as IPID is empowered to investigate, the police are empowered to investigate. And we are not going to be spectators when there is an allegation somewhere. Now, it's very nice for people to come and say, investigate interference because you're investigating the acting national commissioner. I place it on record here and said, each and every member of the service who is investigating Paul O'Sullivan is being investigated by IPID. That is not interference. Including asking for dockets from the same members who are investigating officers. There is one of them here, Warrant Officer Flock. He continues, he actually just told me when we were flying here to say, General, I'm still receiving these messages of someone that said they are investigating the defeating the ends of justice against me, against him, because he is investigating who? Paul O'Sullivan. Well, Honorable Muller, I don't know of any witness that has been killed and arrested. I don't know who they are talking of. Who sent you to investigate IPID, meaning General Mabula? He will answer that, but I thought in a way I've already answered it. What is it that you want to gain? Those two questions, I'll allow him to answer. There's a question which I know deliberately was not answered. Are you investigating based on the strength of the private investigator? My case is primarily based on what he is saying. Amongst others, he would have said 8 million. They ran around, they are not able to find that 8 million. They spoke about the 80,000 music system. While they have got the bank statements in front of me, of them, I'm still to answer, why is the 80,075 there? Logic tells...
General, sorry to intervene, but we really need to deal with it. Our time is really running out.
All right, let me run through some of them, Chair. I have dealt with the issue solely because of the IPID investigation, no. Honorable Ramatlakane, and I said, and even for Honorable Riedlinghuys, we will continue to cooperate with a competent authority in terms of our law that is charged with the responsibility to investigate. Despite all this, I cooperated, including allowing the investigating officers to interview my daughter who was a minor. Because of the insensitivity, they have asked to do that interview. I said, that's fine, interview her. That I cannot withhold anything because I've got nothing to hide. Go to those list of things that they are raising and ask which one of them are there in the media. It's about my house, it's about my vehicles. Show me a paragraph in O'Sullivan's statement which is mentioning a single thing about a vehicle. Counter-investigation unit, it can be seen as interference. It is unfortunate, Honorable Ramatlakane, that people arrive at that conclusion, but as said earlier, the investigation by General Mabula's team was informed by a security threat assessment. And that flows from the attack that I was confronted with. I know they make a joke about it, but there is a direct link to that threat, to what happened there, and what Paul O'Sullivan has been saying. There is that direct link. Now, if all of us are in the security environment, we should, if I was killed on that day, maybe some people would have celebrated, but some would have said, how safe can we be if the acting national commissioner is being killed? That was going to be a narrative, and I know many of them were going to gain mileage out of that. We told you death threat, we told you this and that, but on that particular day, God was great. I came out alive. I'm grateful to my wife. I'm grateful to the lady at the spa for the work that they did. But it's a joke to them. So I did not establish the team. I've already spoken to it. IPID Act, we will respect the Act. It's a law of our country, but we are just saying apply that law to the latter. Let it not be selective. And that's never a message that we are going to send through and say, don't cooperate with IPID. We will continue. Despite what they are dishing out to our members, despite the level of harassment which has been directed to our members, we will continue to ensure that that act is being implemented. And we will continue to work together. There is no reason why we should not work together. Somewhere we will find the point of convergence, and the sense will prevail. The issue of General Munu, I have just referred to Mr. McBride's statement in the Munu docket. Now, I was supposed to take instructions from Paul O'Sullivan out of nowhere to suspend, dismiss, and send General Munu to jail. If I don't do that, he will be all over me like any other thing. I refuse to be captured. That is why he goes around and say, in the justice crime prevention and security cluster, there is just one institution which is not captured, and he says it's IPID. Hey, you realize this capture is a serious problem. If all of us are captured and there is just IPID which is not captured, while they are busy working together, not from yesterday. Honorable Mbele, I thought I've dealt with the counterintelligence unit in SABS, and we don't have a counterintelligence unit. We have got a component counterintelligence, which has been detached from the crime intelligence environment, and it was made a division. There are two components in that particular environment. Their mandate is very clear. It can't be an establishment informed by an investigation against Phahlane. Well, I'm not going to give you the details of the security threat. It is unfortunate that it is even in the hands of Paul O'Sullivan, deposited there by the executive director. But for all what it matters, security threat assessments are not supposed to be peddled in the public domain. The team is comprised of serious investigators. General Mabula has for the rest of his career been a detective. He has been in the Hawks environment. Similarly, Brigadier Ngube, Colonel Dehu, they are seasoned investigators. And I'm grateful with the feedback that I'm getting from the Acting Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence that they have confined themselves to their mandate as provided for in the terms of reference that were determined when they were appointed to lead that investigation. Suspect pursuit, I think General Mabula will talk to that. I hear this story about Section 205. Honorable Chair, honorable members, my privacy has been invaded for far too long. By the time they try and legitimize my bank statements, which they have, they were already in Paul O'Sullivan's possession, including the building plans and everything. It was already there. So there is no reason for me why I should have an obsession to lay my hands on a Section 205 application. I did not approach anyone for a 205 application. When the lawyers made an application to the court for the documents, because they deliberately did not provide me with any documents, additional documents when they came for the search warrant, he then requested the documents, and that's a process between the court and my lawyers. I don't even know what they are talking of on this one. Honorable Chair, I've dealt with many of these issues. Maybe General Mabula can just talk to the 2-3 issues that he was to respond to. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, very short. I mean, if there's any additional information you want to provide to the committee, you're welcome. General, very, very short. I'm going to close in the next 3 minutes.
Thanks, Chair. The first question, as it's been said, we were actually appointed by Acting Divisional Commissioner, as I've indicated in my presentation, and the feedback is provided to her. And also I can say, I don't have any interest whatsoever in the matter which is investigated by IPID. We even went to an extent to draw the line. Whenever witnesses are interviewed, we explain to them to say, it's not the duplication of what IPID is doing. We are only confine ourselves with the threats leveled against the Acting National Commissioner. It is very clear in our statements. And then members who are actually already being charged in this matter, the first ones was Mr. Paul O'Sullivan and Ms. Sarah Jane Trent. And then last week, as been said, Mr. Matlangu, who's with us here, and Mr. Binang, they were served with summons and they'll be appearing in Pretoria Regional Court on the 30th of May this month. But Mr. Paul O'Sullivan and Sarah Jane, their matter was postponed until the 19th, I think on Friday. So there were also bail conditions and they were granted bail. That's all from myself, if I remember what I was supposed to give feedback on.
Thank you very much, members. We come to the end of these presentations. Maybe just to sum up in the recommendations, maybe I must just make the first preliminary point without going into detail. I once again, very friendly, want to ask institutions appearing before the committee to provide us with the presentations in time, because we could have anticipated some of the issues is not relevant, and now we had to sit through some of the presentations. Then also, just, I'm not going to go into detail, maybe it's for some people the first time they appear in Parliament, but there is certain conduct rules that we as a committee think it's quite important, so we must just indicate that at this stage. Then, just to say that there were some recommendations from the floor. I think it's quite critical that we call the Minister of Police, Honorable Fikile Mbalula, to this committee to indicate the concerns that was raised. Of course, also we will call on the two institutions if there's any other further clarifications or submissions they want to make to addition to today's presentation, to make it available to us within 10 days, that we can then process it. Then, very importantly, we want to make an appeal that there is adherence to the relevant legislation in terms of the IPID Act as well as the SAPS Act. It's quite important that there shouldn't be any interference in the work of the oversight institutions. Even if we may differ with the approach, then there is the courts that is available, and that mechanisms must be used, or other constitutional mechanisms that is at play. But there must be cooperation. That's quite critical. Then the confidence of the people in the South African Police Service and IPID is critical. And from this portfolio committee side, we're going to monitor it very, very closely. In terms of Rule 227, that's what we did today. We can investigate, inquire anything within our portfolio, any matter of concern. And it's quite important that we have these submissions today. And I think it's quite important for the two different institutions, when they go back, to reflect on the issues that's before us. Because at the end of the day, we must have confidence in those institutions. They must act within the law. They must act in line with the relevant standing operating procedures. That's quite critical. So I think I just want to emphasize that as well. But at the end of the day, it's critical that we have that discussion with the executive authority, that we can take it forward in that regard. So thank you very much for your cooperation. This meeting is closed.
To be African is beautiful. To be African is a privilege.
It represents hard work. It represents being able to stand on your own.
And respecting other cultures as well.
It's about promoting African heritage.
We are all Africans. Let's come together so that we can have a formidable force.
Our cultures interlink with one another.
And by standing together and embracing one another, you know, there's power in unity.
It is time to cut off this issue of xenophobia.
I stand for African unity. I stand for promoting unity in Africa because
there are many opportunities
to be whatever you want to be.
Africa is one of the most important continents.
Because if we can come together as one, we will be able to actually build a better Africa, the new Africa for the future. And if we unite our hearts and our minds together and we go forward, we will conquer.
So let us all arise and be proudly African.
Being an African is who I am right now.
I'm proudly African. I love Africa.
Wishing you all a very happy Africa Month.
One love.
You're watching the news at 1. We welcome our 404 viewers. Now, cybersecurity researchers have found technical evidence which they say could link North Korea with the global WannaCry ransomware cyber attack. It's infected more than 300,000 computers in 150 countries since last Friday. Simon Tech and Kaspersky Labs say that